We live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. ISRO launches SpaDex mission. Successful separation of satellites marks another milestone in India's space journey. South Korean court approves arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon, facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges. U.S. Treasury Department has accused a Chinese state-sponsored actor for a cyber breach earlier this month. Emotional homecoming for several ahead of New Year's Eve as Russia and Ukraine swap hundreds of prisoners in UAE brokered deal. 5 years on, World Health Organization implores China to share data on COVID origins, calls it a moral and scientific imperative. And the world enters final stage preparation to ring in New Year 2025 with cheer and festivity. And on to the details now. A South Korean court has issued an arrest warrant for impeached suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. Yoon has been impeached and suspended from power over his decision to impose martial law on December 3rd. He is facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges, while the ruling party interim leader said that attempting to detain a sitting president is not appropriate. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's lawyer, Yoon Kap-taeun, also said that Yoon's martial law declaration on December 3rd did not constitute insurrection and the arrest warrant against him was invalid. Well, this is the first ever arrest warrant issued for an incumbent president in South Korea. On Monday, South Korean investigators sought an arrest warrant for Yoon over this month's short-lived imposition of martial law. Police have tried but failed to successfully raid the presidential office as part of the investigation. Insurrection is one of the few charges for which a South Korean president does not have immunity. Meanwhile, South Korean protesters held a rally near the presidential residence after the court approved an arrest warrant for President Yoon Suk-yeol. Yoon was suspended from presidential powers after being impeached by Parliament over his decision to briefly impose martial law. Masked martial law troops equipped with rifles, body armor and night vision equipment entered the parliament, where they faced off with staffers who opposed them with fire extinguishers. The decree lasted just hours until the parliament voted it down and Yoon backed down. And Yoon Suk-yeol, a former South Korean president, seems to be staring at mounting troubles. After opposition lawmakers voted to impeach the interim, he is staring at legal troubles as the court issued an arrest warrant for impeached, suspended president. One fatal decision is behind the trail of disaster for Yoon. Here is how the events unfolded. On December 3rd, 2024, Yoon declared martial law in an unannounced late-night address. South Korean opposition party called for the dismissal of martial law on December 4th. Parliament passed a motion on the same day requiring the martial law declared by Yoon to be lifted. On December 5th, Parliament formally introduced a motion to impeach Yoon. Yoon survived impeachment motion in the Parliament after members of his own party boycotted the vote on December 7th. Thousands of demonstrators rallied outside the parliament calling for a vote to impeach Yoon. On December 7th, Yoon survived an impeachment motion in the parliament after members of his party boycotted the vote. Thousands of demonstrators demanded Yoon to be impeached on December 9th. South Korean police tried to search Yoon's office on December 11th as an investigation into his decision. Yoon on December 12th lashed out at his political opponent, saying North Korea has hacked the country's elections. On the same day, opposition parties submitted a new bill to Parliament to impeach Yoon. Parliament impeached Yoon on December 14th, voting to suspend him from his official duties. On December 14th, South Korean officials delivered the official documents declaring Yoon's impeachment. Constitutional Court began reviewing the impeachment of Yoon over the martial law declaration on December 16th. Parliament voted on December 27 to impeach Prime Minister and Acting President Han Duck-soo just 2 weeks after it stripped President Yoon. And for more, we have Amit Mukherjee joining us on this. Well, Amit, South Korean court has finally issued an arrest warrant for Yoon Suk-yeol on insurrection charges, marking a historical first. Tell us how it all can shape up.
Well, Lipakshi, we must understand, the countdown which actually led to the issuance of this arrest warrant. Basically, the prosecution court, it has been issuing summons to the impeached President Yoon in the last 3 occasions. In fact, the last summon was served upon him on 29th, which again he declined, which is why the prosecutors who are probing the entire case against President Yoon, they again appealed to the court that they should now issue an arrest warrant, which is why this arrest warrant has been issued, because the prosecution has also taken a plea that the impeached president is not at all cooperating with the investigating agency, the prosecution panel, which is actually probing the entire case, after which the impeachment process was actually introduced in the parliament. Now we must also understand that President Yoon, apart from not being cooperating, in fact his prosecutor channel, his own prosecution team, they actually challenged the validity of the court which is now investigating the entire insurrection case against President Yoon. So multiple cases are now, situations are now against President Yoon, following which this arrest warrant has been issued. So now the prosecution wants to kind of question him in custody. And the charges are very, very serious. Although the president of South Korea, under present circumstances, they enjoy some kind of a immunity. But the charges which are now being leveled against impeached President Yoon, which is basically rebellion and of course treason, those invite in fact lifetime and in fact also death charge can be imposed on him if every fact in case is found to be true.
Right. Amit, also Parliament has voted to impeach Prime Minister and Acting President Han Duck-soo just 2 weeks after it stripped President Yoon. What implications does this have for presidential immunity in the country?
Well, Lipakshi, again, many things are happening at the South Korean Parliament level for the first time. In fact, this is the although impeachment of a president is nothing new. It had happened earlier also in 2 occasions. Of course, in one case, the president was reinstated, while in the other case, in 2016, the president, again, the sitting president was actually, the court actually endorsed the impeachment. So this is nothing new, but again, we must also understand that for the first time also, the caretaker president has also been impeached. In fact, Han Duck-soo, the prime minister, who was also a civil servant in South Korea, he was given the charge, the temporary charge of presidency after President Yoon was actually impeached. But even then, within days following non-agreement over the judges panel, which is actually probing Yoon's impeachment, even Han Duck-soo was impeached out of power. He was kind of stripped of his power as in the acting president also. Of course, now we have Choi Song-muk, who is now again the finance minister. He is now the acting president, and he'll be delivering all those duties which are required to be delivered by a president as of now. But yes, as far as immunity issue is concerned, the president of South Korea enjoys certain immunities against him. But as far as the charges which are now being leveled against him about rebellion and also treason, which is basically going against your own country, the kind of punishments are very, very serious. It can invite a life term. It can also invite death penalty.
All right. Thank you so much, Amit, for giving us all those details. And moving on, the Israeli military intercepted a missile launched from Yemen before it crossed into Israeli territory. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have been firing missiles and drones at Israel and ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. In recent weeks, they have claimed to have fired several missiles at Israel, triggering retaliatory strikes from Israel targeting the rebels' strategic assets and infrastructure. The Iran-backed Houthis have controlled a large part of Yemen since seizing Sana'a and ousting the government in 2014. They have stepped up their attacks since November's ceasefire between Israel and another Iran-backed group, Hezbollah, in Lebanon. While on Monday, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations issued what he called a final warning to the Houthis to halt their missile attacks on Israel, saying they otherwise risked the same miserable fate as Hamas, Hezbollah and Syria's Bashar al-Assad if they persisted. And Syria's new foreign minister, Assad Hassan al-Shibani, told his Ukrainian counterpart, Andriy Sybiha, that Syria hopes for strategic partnerships with Ukraine as Kyiv moves to build ties with the new rulers in Damascus. Sybiha also met with Syria's new de facto ruler, Ahmed al-Shara, in Damascus on Monday and said Ukraine would send more food aid shipments to Syria after the expected arrival of 20 shipments of flour on Tuesday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced last Friday the dispatch of Ukraine's first batch of food aid to Syria as part of Kyiv's humanitarian Grain from Ukraine initiative in cooperation with the United Nations World Food Programme. Al-Shibani also said he has accepted an invitation from his Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah, to visit in what would be his first official foreign trip.
There will be strategic contributions and partnership between us and Ukraine on political, economic and also social levels. We also have scientific collaborations that we will restart with Ukraine.
I am here to unpass a personal message to Syrian people from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The message is clear. We are with you. We are ready to help the Syrian people because Ukraine is interested in stable Syria, and development of cooperation is beneficial to both our nations. We have pledged to support food security as soon as possible.
Well, Russia and Ukraine swapped more than 300 prisoners of war on Monday in an exchange brokered by the United Arab Emirates ahead of the New Year's Eve. The Russian Defense Ministry said 150 Russian servicemen were returned from territory controlled by the Kyiv regime. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv received 189 people as part of the deal, including soldiers, border guards and 2 civilians from the Russian-occupied city of Mariupol. He thanked the United Arab Emirates and other partners for facilitating the swap. Ukraine said that Moscow had released a total of 3,956 people since the start of the conflict. The swap resulted in an emotional homecoming for many prisoners just in time for New Year's Eve. Russia's Human Rights Commissioner Tatyana Moskalkova stated that the individuals involved in the prisoner swap will be reunited with their relatives and friends, allowing them to celebrate the New Year in their homeland. Well, moving on, Chinese state-sponsored hackers breached the U.S. Treasury Department's computer security guardrails this month and stole documents. The hackers compromised third-party cybersecurity service provider Beyond Trust and were able to access unclassified documents. More on this report.
The U.S. Treasury Department said Monday that a China state-sponsored actor was behind a cyber breach resulting in access to some of its workstations. The incident happened earlier this month when the actor compromised a third-party cybersecurity service provider and was able to remotely access the Treasury workstations and some unclassified documents. Treasury contacted the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency after it was alerted of the situation by its provider, Beyond Trust. The compromised Beyond Trust service has been subsequently taken offline. The Treasury has attributed the incident to a China state-sponsored Advanced Persistent Threat Actor. An APT refers to a cyber attack where an intruder establishes and maintains unauthorized access to a target, remaining undetected for a sustained period of time. The department did not provide further details on what was affected by the breach, but said more information would be released in a supplemental report at a later date. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Probe into German Christmas market attack to be completed, assures German Interior Minister. South Korea's acting president pays tribute to plane crash victims in Seoul, orders an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operation system. And 5 people charged in connection with One Direction singer Liam Payne's death. The year 2024 was marked by some historic elections across the continents, coupled with global unrest. Beat historic third-term win for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with unprecedented mandate, US President-elect Donald Trump making a spectacular comeback. Curtains down for the year 2024. What an year it was. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. A U.S. federal appeals court on Monday upheld a jury verdict ordering President-elect Donald Trump to pay $5 million for sexually abusing and defaming writer Jean Carroll. A New York jury found after a 9-day civil trial last year that the former president had sexually abused Carroll at a Manhattan department store in 1996. Trump was ordered to pay $2 million for sexual abuse and another $3 million for defaming the former advice columnist for LA magazine. Well, Trump denied the allegations and appealed the verdict on the grounds that 2 other women who said Trump had sexually assaulted them too should not have been allowed to testify. The 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals disagreed. Carroll was awarded $83 million by another jury in a separate case she brought against Trump. And the World Health Organization has urged China to share data on the origins of the COVID pandemic. 5 years after the first cases of COVID-19 were reported in the Chinese city of Wuhan, the World Health Organization said it's still waiting for full cooperation from Beijing to clarify the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. WHO said in a statement that this is a moral and scientific imperative. It further added that the health agency continues to call on China to share data and access so the WHO can understand the origins of COVID-19. The WHO warned that without transparency, sharing and cooperation among countries, the world cannot adequately prevent and prepare for future epidemics and pandemics. And updates on South Korea's worst air disaster now. South Korea's acting president Choi Sang-mok on Tuesday morning paid tribute to the victims of the Jeju airplane crash. Choi was accompanied by a group of officials as he laid flowers and bowed to pay respects at the memorial set up in Seoul. The acting South Korean president on Monday ordered an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operation system as investigators worked to identify victims and find out what caused the disaster. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board of United States sent investigators, including an accredited representative and investigators with specialities in operational factors and airworthiness, to South Korea to assist with the investigation of the December 29th Jeju air accident that left 179 people dead. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for making 2025 a new beginning. In a New Year's message reflecting 2024, he stated that hope has been hard to find. The The Secretary General noted that the top 10 hottest years on record have occurred in the past decade.
Countries must put the world on a safer path by dramatically slashing emissions and supporting the transition to a renewable future. It is essential and it is possible.
Well, the Secretary General concluded by stating that there are no guarantees for what lies ahead in 2025. He pledged to stand with all those working to forge a more peaceful, equal, stable and healthy future for all the people.
There are no guarantees for what's ahead in 2025, but I pledge to stand with all those who are working to forge a more peaceful, equal, stable and healthy future for all people. Together we can make 2025 a new beginning, not as a world divided, but as nations united.
And moving on, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with a Venezuelan opposition figure whom Washington says defeated Nicolas Maduro in a widely disputed July presidential election. Blinken conferred with the exiled candidate Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia and with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado in a show of support. The call comes less than 2 weeks before the next Venezuelan presidential term begins on January 10th. Demonstrations broke out across the country after Maduro was proclaimed the winner of the July 28th election, despite results published by the opposition appearing to show their candidate won by a landslide. And moving on, police in Kenya's capital Nairobi have fired tear gas to disperse protesters demonstrating against what they say is a wave of unexplained abductions of government critics. Dozens of Kenyans have been abducted in recent months, according to human rights groups who blamed the extrajudicial arrest in Kenya's police and intelligence services. Kenyan authorities have said that the government does not condone or engage in extrajudicial killings or abductions. Some groups of young protesters marched in downtown Nairobi, while others staged a sit-in and chanted slogans against the government. The National Police spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Monday's protest. And Trinidad and Tobago has declared a state of emergency in response to a spike in gang violence over the weekend. President Christine Carlo Kangaloo issued the declaration on the advice of Prime Minister Keith Rowley, who had been under growing pressure to take action over worsening crime figures. The state of emergency empowers the country's police to arrest people on suspicion of involvement in illegal activities. It will also allow law enforcement to search and enter both public and private premises and suspend bail. A government statement specified that no curfew would be imposed and the freedom to meet publicly or demonstrate in marches would not be impeded. The move comes as Trinidad and Tobago gears up for a general election which must be held by August 2025. And in Ethiopia, at least 71 people died when a truck packed with passengers plunged into a river. The accident occurred in the Bona district. The vehicle, which was traveling through Sidama state on Monday, fell into the river after it missed a bridge. A local official said many of the passengers had been guests at the wedding party. Traffic police in the region reported the lorry was overloaded, which was likely to have caused the incident. Further investigations are underway. Deadly traffic accidents are common in Ethiopia, where driving standards are poor and many vehicles badly maintained. At least 38 people, mostly students, were killed in 2018 when a bus plunged into a ravine in Ethiopia's mountainous north. And German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser on Monday promised a complete investigation into the Magdeburg Christmas market attack. Faeser, along with security and intelligence chiefs, faced questioning on Monday by a parliamentary committee about the attack that killed 5 people and wounded more than 200, and on whether there had been missed clues and security lapses. Faeser said no motive had yet been established for the December 20th attack at the eastern city of Magdeburg, but there are striking signs of a pathological psyche. Police arrested Saudi psychiatrist Taleb Abdul Mohsen after the assault that used a motor vehicle as a weapon, a method previously used in jihadist attacks, including in Berlin and in the French city of Nice in 2016. Well, also a fatal accident in Hong Kong claimed the life of an elderly man and left 3 others injured after a car veered onto a pavement in Yau Ma Tei on Monday. The 42-year-old driver, arrested for dangerous driving causing death, claimed that he was unwell. A CCTV camera captured a video showing pedestrians crossing the road when a black private car swerved onto the pavement, directly hitting a few passers-by. The front of the car was severely damaged and the authorities used car stoppers to prevent the vehicle from moving forward. And on to some weather update now. Chilean authorities issued a cautionary alert for multiple coastal towns due to abnormal sea swells, urging residents to avoid these areas. As a precaution, access to the coastal route of Vina del Mar was closed. However, some people ignored the warning, venturing to the beach to witness the phenomena and even taking selfies. Chilean authorities have predicted that the swells will continue to intensify until Tuesday. Over the weekend, similar unusual swells impacted the coast of Peru, leading to the closure of 80 ports and several beaches. And meanwhile, a severe hailstorm hit Barori in Sao Paulo on Monday, blanketing the streets in ice. The hailstorm's intensity led to the collapse of a supermarket roof, injuring 4 people with minor injuries. The Brazilian Meteorological Institute issued an early warning about severe weather conditions affecting the region, forecasting hail and heavy rains. These weather patterns are expected to cause significant disruptions, including risks of power outages and widespread flooding. And 5 people have been indicted in Argentina over the death of British singer Liam Payne, who fell from the Buenos Aires hotel balcony in October after consuming alcohol and drugs. 3 of the 5 were charged with manslaughter and the other 2 with supplying the former One Direction pop star with illegal drugs. The latter 2 have been ordered to be taken into custody, but the others have been allowed to remain free. Payne death on October 16th after falling from the balcony of his third-floor room at the Casa Sur Hotel in the Argentine capital. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. El Salvador authorities have confiscated a haul of 1.5 tons of cocaine valued at $37.5 million during a maritime operation off the country's coast. 2 men aboard an Ecuadorian flagged speedboat were arrested and are set to face legal proceedings. Salvadoran Defense Minister Reen Marino Monroy reported that the seized narcotics were worth $37.5 million. In southern Mexico, hundreds of migrants waited in long lines outside an immigration office on Monday, hoping to secure safe passage north and enter the U.S. legally before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Trump plans to end President Joe Biden's humanitarian programs, known as CBP-1, to approach a port of entry and enter the U.S. legally. Hundreds of dog owners and their pets took to the streets of Madrid for the traditional San Perez Rave walk to raise funds in support of flood-affected shelters in Valencia, 2 months after the deadly floods in Spain's 3rd biggest city. Animal protection group El Refugee usually organizes the annual festive dog version of the traditional year-end San Silvestre race to raise awareness against animal abuse and abandonment. And still to come in DD India News. Well, the last sunrise of the year painted the sky with hues of tangerine and gold across India. The national capital gears up to usher in New Year amidst an advisory issued by the authorities to ensure law and order. And North India to enter New Year 2025 with snow and cold wave conditions. Welcome back. You're watching DT India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. ISRO launches SpaDex mission. Successful separation of satellites marks another milestone in India's space journey. South Korean court approves arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon, facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges. U.S. Treasury Department has accused Chinese state-sponsored actor for a cyber breach earlier this month. Emotional homecoming for several ahead of New Year's Eve as Russia and Ukraine swap hundreds of prisoners in UAE broker deal. 5 years on, the World Health Organization implores China to share data on COVID origins, calls it a moral and scientific imperative. And the world enters final stage preparation to ring in the New Year 2025 with cheer and festivity. An Indian government extending all possible help in the matter of Nimisha Priya. In response to media queries regarding the case of Nimisha Priya, Indian Ministry of External Affairs said that they are aware of the sentencing of Nimisha Priya in Yemen and also understand that the family of her is exploring relevant options. Nimisha Priya from Kerala has been on death row in Yemen since 2018 after being convicted of murdering a Yemeni citizen, Talal Abdo Mahdi, in 2017. Mahdi had abused her. Funds were also raised for her to pay for blood money. And in a major milestone, the Indian Space Research Organisation launched its 5th year-end mission, PSLV-C60, carrying the Space Docking Experiment or SpaDex from Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. This historic mission aims to achieve the rare feat of docking 2 satellites in space. Just after 10 p.m. IST on Monday, PSLV-C60 rocket lifted from the first launch pad at Sriharikota and placed 2 small satellites, each weighing 220 kg, in the right orbit of 475 km circular orbit after over 15 minutes of flight. The first satellite separated 15.1 minutes after launch, following the second at 15.2 minutes. Designed as a cost-effective technology demonstrators, SpaDex will showcase rendezvous, docking and undocking of 2 small spacecraft in low Earth orbit, paving the way for advanced in-search operations.
I'm really happy to announce the successful accomplishment of the launch of PSLV-C60 for the SpaDex mission. The rocket has placed the satellites in the right orbit, which is 475 km circular orbit. SpaDex 2 satellites are moved. You would have seen in the animation that they moved little one behind the other. So over the period of time, for the days, it will pick up further distance, travel to almost a 20-kilometer distance away.
Well, ISRO is gearing up to achieve a significant milestone with the geosynchronous launch vehicle mission scheduled in January, set to become the 100th launch from the Sriharikota spaceport. Monday's PSLV-C60 mission was the 99th launch from Sriharikota, which successfully placed 2 spacecraft for conducting the space docking experiment in a circular orbit.
For us, this is the 99th launch of any launch vehicle from Satish Dhawan Space Center. So that's also a very important number. So we are going for the 100th launch in the beginning of next year. In this 99th launch, the PSLV, the Corelon configuration of the PSLV-C60, placed 2 SpaDex satellites weighing 220 kilograms into a circular orbit of 475 kilometers.
While talking to media, ISRO chairman said that the first stage of the PSL will provide housekeeping support for the payloads, with the process expected to complete soon.
Payloads, they are not satellites, they are going to be attached to the stage, conducting experiments for next 2 months. The upper stage of the PSLV will act as a spacecraft, providing all the housekeeping support for the payloads to operate. And that will be done in a lower orbit, that will be lower to 350 kilometers. And the process is currently going on, still not reached there. So tonight, in another, maybe in less than an hour, it will reach. After that, we will have many activities to continue. You heard that the SpaDex will have many operations tomorrow onwards, arresting its motion and reaching the docking condition on possibly on 7th of January.
While Union Home Minister Amit Shah applauded the first success of SpaDex mission launch, posting on social media platform X, he wrote, and I quote, "Bharat paces to become the fourth nation to master space docking. Kudos to Team ISRO on the successful launch of SpaDex mission. This is a grand success that opens a new path for Bharat in space docking technology and strengthens its role as a global leader in space. All my best wishes to our geniuses for the journey ahead." Unquote. And Mahakumbh Mela 2025 set to take place in the holy city of Prayagraj from January 13th to February 26th is poised to reaffirm its status as the world's largest congregation of faith and spirituality. Different departments of the Uttar Pradesh government are racing against time to finish the preparations. For the past few months, an army of workers has been diligently channeling the rivers, widening roads and levelling the ghats to transform the city in anticipation of one of the largest religious events in the world. The railways will run 3,000 special trains during the Mahakumbh 2025, out of which 560 trains will operate on ring rail. The 48-day festival will draw millions of devotees, saints and spiritual seekers to the Triveni Sangam, the sacred confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna and mythical Saraswati rivers, where they will partake in rituals and seek spiritual liberation. And North India is reeling under a severe cold wave. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued warnings for extreme cold and dense fog across parts of northwest and central India, with conditions expected to worsen in the coming days. According to the Met Department, some areas in Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir will experience a severe cold wave till January 1st. The temperatures are to remain 3 to 5 degrees Celsius below the normal in these regions, with New Year's Day adding to the chill. Dense to very dense fog is likely to remain till January 4th. Snowfall is expected to continue in Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Heavy rainfall in the last 2 days has disrupted the normal life of the residents and the tourists. Rescue efforts continue for those stranded amidst the heavy snowfall after closure of the roads. And for more on this, we have Shabir Dar joining us from Srinagar. Well, Shabir, how is the heavy rainfall in the area right now, and how is it impacting the local residents, and especially the tourists today, as this is the last day of the year?
Yeah, this is the last day of the year, and Kashmir is already, on the cover of a white black, because we received, sufficient amount of snow last week, and the winter chill is extremely cold this time around. The last night it was -7 in the southern Kashmir, and -3 temperature was recorded in Srinagar. Gulmarg recorded the highest, the extreme weather conditions in Gulmarg, the sky resort, the world known sky resort, where -8 degree centigrade was recorded last night. So the extreme weather conditions continue. The rainfall is not there, but it is expected that in coming 2 days, more snow and rain will occur across Kashmir. So this is a good omen for the new year, as both residents and the tourists are enjoying the white cover under which Kashmir, has been transformed into a wintry wonderland.
All right. Also, Shabir, what measures are being taken to assist those stranded due to the heavy snowfall and the road closure, especially in the affected areas?
Yeah, the administration, the government of Jammu and Kashmir is making all efforts to ensure that all those who are stranded in the hilly region or in the far-off areas are being rescued and evacuated from their the patients or those sick who need medical attention. They are being taken care of. The air ambulances are passing the service to ensure that people living in Tangdar, which is near the line of control, or in other hilly areas, are giving the attention of the administration. Similarly, the roads which are closed as of now, every effort is being made. The snow cutters are being passed to service. The traffic police and the police personnel, additional forces have been deployed to ensure that roads are open and people are giving, necessary attention, and hardships which the people face are eased.
All right, I'm sure all set to welcome the new year there. Thank you so much, Shabir, for all those details. And moving on, as the year 2024's final dawn broke on Tuesday, the last sunrise of the year painted the sky with hues of tangerine and gold. Cities across India bathed in a warm, gentle light, as if nature itself reflected on the passing of time. The sun rose slowly, a burning ember on the horizon, casting shadows across the landscape. Sunrises are moments of introspection. More today, as it is time to bid farewell to the old year and welcome the promise of a new one. As the sun rises higher in the sky, it illuminates the possibilities and opportunities that lie ahead, filling our hearts with hope and our spirits with renewal. These moments remind us that every ending marks a new beginning. The last sunrise of the year symbolizes hope, renewal, and the promise of a fresh start. And in connection with New Year Eve celebrations in India's national capital, Delhi's traffic police has made special arrangements to manage the expected large crowd. The following traffic restrictions and diversions will be implemented from 8 p.m. onwards on 31st December 2024, applicable to both private and public transport vehicles. The force has also given instructions for commuters going out on the New Year's Eve. They've been advised to use public transport to minimize congestion. The Delhi Traffic Police has urged all to park vehicles in designated parking areas to ensure smooth traffic flow. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Rehearsals are in full swing ahead of India's Republic Day 2025. Defence personnel participated in the full dress rehearsal at Kartavya Path in New Delhi. Celebrated on January 26th, the Republic Day parade is a display of India's military prowess and rich culture. Known for their valor, Indian Army personnel patrolling in heavy snow at higher altitude in Jammu and Kashmir's Doordarshan sector near line of control. Despite the challenging weather conditions, the troops continue their duties to ensure security in the region. Well, India gets first glass bridge over sea in Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu on Monday. The newly inaugurated glass bridge spans 77 meters in length and 10 meters in width, connecting the Vivekananda Rock Memorial to the Thiruvalluvar statue. The bridge is set to become a landmark attraction. And still to come, indeed, India News Hour. Venezuela court finds TikTok over deadly challenges. India's Grandmaster R. Vaishali qualifies for the knockout stage of the World Blitz Championship 2024. And Bumrah Arshdeep, among others, nominated for ICC awards. The year 2024 was marked by some historic elections across the continents, coupled with global unrest. Beat historic third-term win for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with unprecedented mandate, US President-elect Donald Trump making a spectacular comeback. Curtains down for the year 2024. What an year it was. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and on to some business news now. Venezuela's top court on Monday fined TikTok $10 million for failing to prevent the spread of viral challenges that have harmed minors. The Supreme Tribunal of Justice fined TikTok in connection with viral challenges that authorities say left 3 adolescents dead from intoxication by chemical substances. The court said that the money will be used to create a TikTok victims fund intended to compensate for the psychological, emotional and physical damages to users, especially if these users are children and adolescents.
TikTok is fined $10 million payable to the National Telecommunications Commission within 8 days for failing to implement necessary measures to stop the spread of content related to the viral challenges. TikTok is ordered to establish a representation with its office in the territory of Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, through which the company will supervise and control the application of technological tools in accordance with the constitutional and legal order of Venezuela in telecommunications and social networks. All this to enhance the security of users and preserve their physical, psychological and emotional integrity.
Well, the existing deal for Russian gas transit through Ukraine is set to expire on Tuesday. Supplies of Russian gas via Ukraine are due to stop from the early hours of January 1st after the current 5-year deal expires. Kyiv has refused to negotiate a new transit deal as its conflict against Russia approaches the end of a 3rd year. Russian President Vladimir Putin said last week that there was no time left this year to sign a new Ukrainian gas transit deal, laying the blame on Kyiv for refusing to extend the agreement. The Soviet-era Urengoy-Pomory-Uzhgorod pipeline brings gas from Siberia via the town of Sudza, now under the control of Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk region. It then flows through Ukraine to Slovakia. In Slovakia, the gas pipeline splits into branches going to the Czech Republic and Austria. Most other Russian gas routes to Europe are shut, including Yamal Europe via Belarus and Nord Stream under the Baltic that was blown up in 2022. The only other operational Russian gas pipeline routes to Europe are the Blue Stream and Turk Stream to Turkey under the Black Sea. And Turkey imposed a 6% tax hike on fuel after its finance minister said over the weekend that tax moves on fuel and tobacco would not affect the government's inflation goal. The special consumption tax on fuel is adjusted every 6 months based on the producer price index, with a 5-month cumulative PPI since the last increase standing at 7.12%. The latest tax hike is below the index. Authorities will announce an update on the PPI on January 3rd, when it is widely expected to increase. Fuel taxes typically have a major impact on inflation. And the dollar was firm on the last trading day of the year, poised to clock strong gains in 2024 against most currencies as investors prepared for fewer U.S. rate cuts and the incoming Trump administration's policies. The dollar's ascent, buoyed by rising treasury yields, has pushed the yen towards its lowest level since July, when the Japanese authorities last intervened. On Tuesday, it was at 157 per dollar, on course for a 10% drop in 2024, its 4th straight year of decline against the dollar. Japanese markets are closed for the rest of the week, and with most markets closed on Wednesday for the New Year's Day holiday, volumes are likely to be razor thin. You're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Grandmaster R. Vaishali has qualified for the knockout stage of the Women's World Blitz Championship 2024 after winning 8 of her first 10 matches in New York. Vaishali was the lone Indian to qualify for the second stage after newly crowned world rapid champion Koneru Humpy missed out on the top 8, finishing in the 9th place. Barring China's Lei Tingjie, who finished second behind Vaishali, all other qualified players ended up with equal points as Humpy. However, Humpy had the worst tie breaks, which saw her finish just outside the qualification spot. And India's fast bowlers Jasprit Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh, along with women's cricketers Priti Mandhana and Shriyanka Patil, have been nominated for ICC Awards 2024. Bumrah is in contention for 2 prestigious annual cricket awards. He's been nominated for Men's Cricketer of the Year and ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year. The 31-year-old fast bowler was instrumental in helping India win their second T20 World Cup earlier this year. Bumrah picked up 15 wickets from 8 matches. The 31-year-old pacer also took 71 wickets in 13 tests, which is the most by any bowler in 2024. Arshdeep Singh has been nominated for the ICC Men's T20 International Cricketer of the Year. He picked 36 wickets from 18 matches. Smriti Mandhana has been nominated for the ICC Women's ODI Cricketer of the Year. She scored 747 runs, including 4 centuries from 13 innings. Shriyanka Patil has earned a nomination for the ICC Emerging Women's Cricketer of the Year. The off-spinner has picked 19 wickets across formats. And during the final day of the 4th test between Australia and India, opener Yashasvi Jaiswal became the 3rd highest run scorer for India in test in a single calendar year. Jaiswal played a knock of 84 runs from 208 balls, including 8 boundaries. With his knock, Jaiswal completed 1,478 runs in a single calendar year. Cricketing icon Sachin Tendulkar leads the list with 1,562 runs in the year. 2010, while legend Sunil Gavaskar sits in the second place with 1,555 runs. Jaiswal also became the first visiting batter since New Zealand's Martin Crowe in 1987 to score more than 75 runs in each innings at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. And the high-scoring test match between Afghanistan and Zimbabwe ended in a draw at the Queen's Sports Club. Captain Hashmatullah Shahidi scored 246 to claim the record of highest test score for an Afghani batter on Sunday. Afghanistan resumed batting on the last day on 515 for 3, which saw Afzal Zazai score a maiden test century before being caught for 113. That wicket set off a slump in their batting as they lost their last 7 wickets for 60 runs. Zimbabwe was 65 without loss at tea as they began their second innings, but amid a rain delay, lost 4 quick wickets to finish at 142 for 4 when the two captains shook hands and agreed to end play shortly before the scheduled close. And in hockey, UP Rudras defeated Vedanta Kalinga Lancers 3-1 in a thrilling contest in the Hockey India League on Monday. Henry Gonzalez opened the scoring to put Lancers ahead with a 13th minute field goal. However, UP Rudras levelled the score with Kane Russell's penalty corner conversation in the 45th minute, which was followed by Sudeep Chirmako's goal, giving the Rudras a 2-1 lead. In the final moments, Russell sealed the victory with another successful penalty conversion, ensuring UP Rudra's first triumph in the league. And in soccer, Newcastle United defeated Manchester United 2-0 at Old Trafford, marking only their second league win at the iconic venue since 1972. The victory also condemned Manchester United to their 3rd consecutive home loss in all competitions for the first time since the 1962-63 season. Goals from Alexander Isak and Joe Ellington in the opening 19 minutes sealed the win for the visitors. Isak has amassed 12 league goals this season, including 8 in his last 6 matches. United woes leave them in 14th place, only 7 points clear of the relegation zone, with the league leaders Liverpool awaiting them at Anfield on Sunday. And Barcelona have lost another appeal for the precautionary registration of Dani Olmo for the rest of the season on Monday. Barcelona signed Olmo in August, but with the club unable to meet La Liga's wage cap. The attacking midfielder was only registered for the first half of the season. The 4-month allowance is set to expire at the end of the month. The club managed to register Olmo after long-term injuries kept first-team players out of the squad for months. The court rejected the precautionary registration of Olmo since none of the necessary prerequisites for the adoption of the precautionary measure were met. And Liam Delap secured Ipswich Town their first home win of the Premier League season, defeating Chelsea 2-0 on Tuesday. They'll have opened the scoring with a 12th-minute penalty. The 21-year-old striker continued his brilliance by assisting Omari Hutchinson for Ipswich's second goal. Despite an impressive 8-match-winning run earlier this season, Chelsea have now failed to score in their last 2 games and remaining 4th in the league. The win lifted Ipswich above Leicester City into 18th place, just 1 point from safety as they battle to escape the relegation zone. And the curtains will close in the year 2024 on Tuesday as the world prepares to welcome New Year 2025. People are bracing for the transition. Rio de Janeiro's iconic Copacabana Beach was buzzing with activity on Monday as preparations for the world's largest New Year's Eve celebration were finalized. In preparation for the New Year's Eve event at the Brandenburg Gate, foldable rolled blocks, fences and security cameras were already lining the streets on Monday. In the U.S., New York City's Mayor Eric Adams and Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch spoke about the safety measures they were planning to implement during the New Year's celebrations in Times Square on Tuesday. Roughly 1 million people will participate in the New Year Eve's celebration, and many more will watch the transmission on television and online. Preparations are in full swing at the Times Square and nearby areas. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available in both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.